Hello, everyone, and welcome to The View from Laura's Window, a podcast where life is explored through positive Christian thoughts. And when I say window, I'm referring to the view or perspective of life and how we think, act, and react. Everyone has a window, and yes, every window has a different view. But sometimes our view may not always be clear, and sometimes it may not always be focused. But I hope through this podcast and a positive Christian mindset, you will have a much better perspective. So open up your windows, your hearts, and your thoughts to the encouraging view from Laura's perspective. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am Laura, your host, and I want to welcome you back. Today is Monday, and it's Motivational Monday. But first, I want to just say Happy Mother's Day to all those moms out there, and I hope that you had a great weekend. I hope you were able to spend time with your family like I did. My two children and my husband and my son-in-law and my two grandsons, we all met at a local park, and we took our own picnic lunches and sat and ate together, and then we were able to pass frisbees back and forth, and I was able to watch my grandsons ride their bikes on the bike path, and it was truly a great afternoon, just soaking up the sun and being able to be with family and enjoying just being together. And I hope you were able to do that this past weekend. I want to talk today about a subject. Well, it's not a subject. It's basically a memory I have. And on today's Motivational Monday, I want to talk about a moment's insight. Back when my husband and I lived in Richmond, Virginia, and I remember it. It was a cloudy Sunday and a dreary first look into the new month of February. And my husband and I had explored a spot where kayakers their paddles were just hitting the water on a warm February day. And it was really warm that day for February, and joggers were jogging and runners were running and people were strolling through the creek. And I had hopes of finding something worth photographing, something that would speak to me. Back then, I used to, and I still do, but I carried my Canon camera everywhere I went. I was always getting pictures of the sunset and always trying to find some kind of nature through the lens. And I had hopes of finding something that day, but everything was colorless. It was bare. It was empty. It was a void of nothingness. But when I began to look through the lens, I realized how everything around me had a story just waiting to be told. And as I walked along the lower path, there was a couple that was also taking in the view, and they were snapping pictures with their cell phone. And just to my right, there was a young man, and he politely said, "Excuse me." So I stepped out of his way. He was loaded with a kayak and equipment, and the only thing between him and the creek was obviously me. And I watched him slip into the small slit of his kayak and secure himself in. And within a few minutes, he had pushed off into the water and was on his way. And as I stood watching through my lens, what was once still waters surrounded by twigs and of brown, it had now, at the time then, become a vivid portrait of inspiration. Little by little, a little can become a lot. And over the years, I have become more and more fascinated with the railroad track, and there was railroad tracks there. And from the beginning of the first track that was laid to now the train tracks, they stretch and spiderweb across the country, and that just amazes me. And on this day, this dismal day, I found myself walking along the platform of those wooden planks. They were aging silently with grace, and the gravel lay between the rails, and it was just so beautiful. Looking through the camera's eye, a shot was snapped, and I couldn't help but think about all those that had walked along these rails before me and all those who would walk after me. And no longer did the days seem dismal. These tracks have become a part of my journey. The beauty of those rusty rails speaks of Isaiah 45:2, which says, I will go before you and make the crooked places straight. And just past those tracks, I spotted the sign which read, Reedy Creek Meadow. And the meadow, although it was lacking and lifeless because it was February, it uniquely expressed its beauty. I could only imagine as I walked down the path that was once an endless field of green and countless colors of wildflowers that were shining through the brilliant sun. It was beautiful and untamed. It's only a matter of time before I knew people would be walking down the same path again and see Reedy Creek Meadows reborn. But at that moment, I saw the beauty of what it used to be. Wildflower weed bouquets with a hint of green and earth tone colors tapered along the cascade of rocks to magnify the elegance. And, the earth is what we all have in common, and we all have paths to take. It may have taken 1,000 crooked paths to bring us to where we are now, but every journey on every path is for the greater good. So, today I want to say surround yourself in nature and stretch your mind to the new experiences that are out there for you. Every moment is an opportunity, and every opportunity is a moment of insight. And just a penny for your thoughts, in your life experiences, if you could have seen the end of the path from the beginning of where you stood, would you still have continued the journey? Or would you have taken a different path? I think about that question often, and I know many of us do. And I wonder sometimes, what if this didn't happen, and what if I'd have chose this path or that path? And I know what my answer is. Maybe next week you can come back and we can talk about what you think your answer would be. Would you have taken a different path, or are you happy with where you are? Because, every path we take brings us to where we are now. And where we are now, even though we may be, stagnant right now and things may not be like the normal that we used to have, it will get better. And I think that God brings circumstances to us so that we can make the decisions as humans that He wants us to choose. And one of those choices is to either love and serve Him. And, if we choose to do that, I do believe that God is going to answer our prayers. He's watching over us. And I think that He does want us to put Him first in all of our decisions, and He wants us to make Him the center of His life. So maybe next week we can come back and discuss that. But in the meantime, I want you to come back tomorrow, because tomorrow is Tuesday's talk, and we will finish the discussion that I had last week with Dr. Michelle Bankson. And we were on the topic of depression. She will come back tomorrow, and we will do part 2 of that discussion on depression. So I hope you come back, and I hope that you listen in on that conversation, because depression isn't just for, talking about it. It's just not about those who are depressed. It's about all those, even those who are not depressed. It's a subject everyone needs to talk about and learn more about. So on that Motivational Monday today, I hope that you can have a great day, and I hope that you are looking for the good in today and every day. And until next time, I love you guys.